Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the Daily Market Insight for Monday, the 18th of December. Now, happy to be back on deck. A couple of weeks off, bit of back surgery, and we're back in business. All right. Now, in the lead up to the sort of holiday period, we do have some sort of good market conditions, right? Now, let me just share some of my screen here. Despite what you're seeing on some of these news services, right? Like the key theme here on Metastock, the dollar rebounds as Fed's Williams, the New York head of the Fed, talks down rate cuts, right? Now, you could say, the market is the last move attributed to Williams or not. If anything, it could be a little bit of profit taking. But to me, even after the last couple of weeks of not being really in the market, the dollar is clearly going down, right? And Euro, Sterling, Aussie, Kiwi are going up. But as I keep saying, these things, when trending markets, they don't go up in a straight line, right? And you do see pullbacks, right? These things are still in an uptrend despite them sort of drifting a little bit lower on Friday. And I've got to say, one of the key standouts, and I'll come back to the economic data in a second, one of the key standouts from me not looking at the market for sort of like a good week and a half are the US Treasury yields, right? A lot lower than they were 2 weeks ago when I was still on deck, right? Up around 5% or in the high fours. So the dollar is doing what it should do associated with the economic numbers, right? The CPI numbers, they weren't as weak as we wanted, which would have really pushed the Fed hard. The Fed likes to see the numbers slowly moving now, right? Because it gives them a bit more like structure. They've done a good job. The market's slowing down, but it's not crashing, right? The crash is where everything gets a little bit messed up. Now, let's just have a look at the calendar here, and it's a pretty solid week leading into the holiday sort of break as such, right? So just looking at the week, it's got very clear structure. I can just get my pen up. A few technical issues here, which is not unusual for my systems. Start of the week, right? Even going down here to almost Thursday, so the euro's in play. You got Aussie, Japanese data, interest rate decision, like the Canadian inflation numbers have got to be on your go-to. Building permits, like there's a bit of mixed data across the board, right? And then you come into Friday, it's all dollar, right? Retail, we got UK retail sales, but the PCE price index, durable goods, personal spending, a lot of the key data here, that will be obviously the major thing on Friday. Just look at the dollar as the core driver. And that's what you're going to be really honing in on, is finding out what's driving the market. So early in the week, we've got some mixed data there. To me, the trends are in play. I'm just waiting for, and this time of year in particular, just waiting for opportunities where I can get into some of these trades, right? Whether I'm looking to get short the US dollar on retracement here. Like at the moment, if we rolled out Friday's economic numbers on these currencies, you're going to have a pretty good trading opportunity because the dollar's either going to be strong or weak. Our worst case scenario, actually, let me just come back to that, is when you have a situation where the markets are sort of drifting a little bit, is these numbers over here come out as expected, right? And then, you know what? Everything stalls. We've got plenty of, there's days off during around the holiday period from Christmas to New Year's. So just be aware of that. But unlike sometimes when it gets to this time of year when the market sort of pulls back somewhat, I think there's decent opportunities leading through Christmas and the new year, right? Because this dollar situation is still very much active. And if I just come back, these numbers down the bottom here too, super important. Like, what's the market doing? Looking at, say, the Black Friday sales and everything in November, are these numbers going to reflect the spending there? Because I can see a massive slowdown from here. And that's what the Fed will be watching very closely as well. So the PCE price index is probably the pick of the bunch. Okay, a big inflation number that the Fed looks at very closely. Like through the rest of the week, follow the trail, right? Aussie crosses, yen and yen crosses, dollar CAD and the CAD crosses for sure. You've got UK inflation numbers there as well on Wednesday. They've got to be your go-tos. The inflation numbers, yen inflation, well, I don't expect much out of that. If I just clear that screen, and then I can really highlight it, right? So Canadian inflation, Tuesday, UK inflation Wednesday, maybe UK retail sales, but Friday's data, that's the big ones. You want to follow these sort of three releases. Well, the two inflation numbers are by themselves, but the US numbers all come out at the same time. They're worth keeping a close eye on, right? And when you come back to sort of working out what's going across the markets, just have a look, see if you are getting like a risk on profile, right? Which is sort of looks like it's sort of developing at this point as we come into the early Asian part of the day. All right, guys. Anyway, good to be back on deck. It's I feel like I've been away for 6 months, but I'm revitalized. Unfortunately, we're going to run into the holiday period where the market sort of do disconnect a bit, lose a bit of momentum. But I'll tell you what, we're going to be firing come early January at the very least. But keep an eye on this Friday. It's got the best bunch of data releases for a week that otherwise, you get those inflation numbers out of Canada and the UK, give you something to put your teeth into, and then Friday's data. All right, guys, have a good one. Cheerio.